Week 9 release of VividCharts, we have a few changes to the chart library that I wanted to highlight and point out so that you can make those adjustments as you're building your own reports. First thing we're going to look at is the list chart. So when I go into a list chart, this is the way it is today. So on the left, you can see here I have a list chart. It has data, so records are being returned for the list, and I get the expected output. If I have a list chart, but there are no data being returned, then I get this no results message here. Request has been that even if there's no records returned, we just have an empty list with the header. So we've added an option to the list chart. If you go here, it's a style option. So in the style menu, we go to header styles. We're going to go down here. We have this new option that says display header with no data. Toggle that on, and you can see right away we have this header here, and it's an empty list. So again, you can turn that off if you prefer having the message that's there. Turn it, and we'll hit save. Okay. The next thing we want to do is related to that no data error message. So currently, the message that you get here for the no data we just saw is that you can set them in your system messages, and so you can have a universal message that goes out. But the request has been being able to set those messages at the individual chart level. So in both of these cases, you can see we have data being returned. So there is no error message or no data message being returned. But if we go in here, and I'm going to go ahead and put conditions on this so that we know that we get no data returned. And I'm going to go ahead and say active as false. Hit save. Okay. So now I get that just standard instance-wide, all my chart message for no data. But maybe in this case, I want a custom message here because there's a special message that needs to go out if there's no records returned for this chart. What you can do is you can go into the style. We now have this style option. It says chart messages. So I'll open it. Now you can see we have two WYSIWYGs here. One is for a custom no data message, and one is for a custom error message. So let's just go ahead and say, we're custom message. Leave it there, and I'm going to turn it on. And you can see that I have this custom message here saying anything I want. So I'm going to go ahead, close, and save this. Now you can see that we have the custom message here. Now it's important to also notice that we're in the editor here, so we're building this. It is possible at the system level to have different messages for these things in the editor versus the viewer. So I'm going to go ahead and hit publish, because we're going to want to test this back in the viewer so that our viewers also see the same thing. We can scroll ahead to that, and you can see that now I also have that same custom no data message here for the chart when no data is returned. Okay, so the next thing, and the last one I'm going to show you, is we have been asked to provide the way for a percent calculation to be used when doing these timed series of these vertical bar charts. So we added a new chart type. It's called the percentage vertical bar. And the bottom one is just our normal vertical timed bar chart. So in this chart, everything gets bucketed into the time frames that I set. And then in this case, we're just counting up the number of records that meet the conditions in those buckets of time. But in this case, I wanted to create a calculation. For example, I may want to see the number of incidents closed versus the number of incidents open, or total incidents, something like that. So in order to set that up, it's very similar to previous. If we go into data, we have all these conditions are the same. So we set the aggregate type, we set the buckets for our time series, the date field that we want to use for those buckets. And then we give you the first condition and second condition. So you can think of this as the first condition being your numerator and the second condition being your denominator. So in this case, I have all of my projects that are green and that are active, and then we're using just all of our active projects as the number on the bottom. And then in the output is the percentage. So you can see that in many cases, we're at 100% of our projects that are active and created in those months are also in the green status. A new chart type for you to use to just be able to show trends and the data in different ways. So hope you like those additions to the chart library, and talk to you soon.